Thank you everyone for joining us here today. For those of you tuning in from Eventbrite, we are Vida. We are a life, health and wellness, leadership and career coaching company. And my name is Justice and I'm one of the relationship strategists here. And what that means is when you're ready to have a conversation and explore what coaching is and how we can best help you, you'll have a half-hour conversation with me or someone on my team where we just ask you deeper questions to get to know what you need, what your goals are, and then we will pair you up with the perfect coach on our team for you. So if anyone, wants to jump in and have a conversation now, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to my calendar. It is first come, first serve, and anyone who comes to us from a webinar gets their first session free. So something to consider when you're thinking about budgeting, but I would love to continue a conversation with anyone that wants to talk. Leslie, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And then actually, I think I just covered that one. So the next slide would be your introduction. So today we have Coach Leslie here with us, and we're going to talk about people pleasing today. So Leslie,
okay,
is yours.
So a little bit about me. I'll jump in about me before we jump into the topics. Thank you, Justice, for getting that all queued up. A little bit about me. I am a life and health and wellness coach with Vida. And through my own experience, I learned that how we think about and how we approach the world around us can have a direct impact on how we experience life. It's the choices we make and the truths. That's the big thing for me. It's the truths that we tell ourselves that empower us to move into the life we want. And so I'm really big about, and I recommend this to my clients. I live it every day. It's really about what's true for you in that moment. So your truths are so important. So some of the areas I address include self-care, behavior modification, goal setting, and public speaking, to name a few. And so I'm open also to have open discussions to address any personal topics that anyone that comes and works with me would like to address. So with that said, let's get right into what we will experience today on the webinar. So many factors contribute to the habit of people pleasing. The 5 habits we'll discuss today are just a few areas to consider when changing that habit and looking at what's going on with you. So what we're going to touch on is determining your self-worth, how depression and anxiety play a role in people pleasing, supportive versus submissive, which is something that we really need to think about when we're thinking about people pleasing, the use of positive self-talk, and that really goes into your self-worth, and setting boundaries using the ACT method. And if we have time, I'll touch on the assertiveness script as well. So with that said, let's begin talking about determining your self-worth. So when you start seeing your worth, you'll find it harder to stay around people who don't. And I love that quote. Because have you ever asked yourself, how much am I worth a minute? I'll pause for a moment with that. Have you ever asked yourself, how much am I worth a minute? So how much we make as a salary, that's never a true measure of our worth, but it's a great place to start. So if you know how much you're worth a minute, would you look at how you spend your time differently? Would you make different decisions? Would you say yes or no to different things than you do today? Knowing your worth really helps guide a lot of those decisions. So now we won't necessarily do this exercise right now in this moment, but I do want you to think about that and actually do it on your own and just figure out how much you're worth hourly and then divide by 60 if you want to know per minute. But if you want to stay at knowing how much you're worth an hour, stay there as well. So before you say yes to something, especially something that you're on the fence about, take that beat and think about, is this worth my time? Another great way to gauge it is the amount of time and or money that you spend on a hobby that you like to do. If you say yes to this thing, is that going to take you away from this joy, this other thing that gives me so much joy that I love to do, or that really inspires me, or that allows me to help other people? What gets sacrificed for this yes? And so thinking along those lines helps you to really put your time and your worth in perspective. Now, to be fair, this is not scientific. I'm saying that right now, but it's a great tool to use if money is a driver. It helps to define how much your time is worth, or to help take the person and their feelings out of the decision-making process and focus on your own worth. It's also a great way to practice self-worth, right? Like most things, behavior is the gateway to success. When you practice your self-worth, others begin to treat you better as well. You know, when you can't give away anything you don't own yourself. So if you're not treating you with respect, with love and kindness, why should anybody else? So what is your usual response when someone pays you a compliment? I know a lot of us ladies, the first thing we say, oh, this whole thing, I wasn't sure I was going to wear this. Oh, it's nothing. I do it all the time. Or I was just trying to help. Yeah, well, when someone pays you a compliment, simply say thank you. That's all that needs to be said. It will inevitably negate the compliment when you go into an explanation. It ultimately, every time, it just totally diminishes the thank you. I mean, diminishes the compliment, you know, but there's a difference between humility and self-deprecation. You don't want to demean yourself. Take that compliment. I love, it's a French woman that said it. I can't even tell you who now at the top of, it's not on my mind, but I remember hearing someone say, a woman, and now, sorry guys, but a woman takes every compliment, right? So just say thank you. But here's the thing. You can say thank you, and you do not need to give a compliment in return. I know, we do that too. As soon as someone pays you a compliment, you look for a way to compliment them back. You don't need to do that. Just say thank you and enjoy that for yourself. Another thing we can do is to limit our time on social media. According to some studies, social media use does appear to cause a decrease in self-esteem. Self-esteem is different from self-worth, and I don't think people really talk about that difference very much. Self-esteem is what we think, feel, and believe about ourselves. Self-worth is the recognition that you are a valuable human being who is worthy of love. So that is a very distinct distinction. You know, that decreased self-esteem can manifest into low self-worth through negative self-talk, which we will discuss later. Lastly, invest in yourself. Eat well. You know, don't just eat to live, live to eat. Exercise, spoil yourself, date yourself, cook for yourself, challenge yourself. How would you want your best friend to treat you? Be your own best friend. That's what you want. And that's a great way to practice that self-worth, that self-love that we all need to get into the habit of doing. The other piece is I love movies and TV, and I often recommend different movies to my clients. Watching movies and television, watching the human condition play out in front of you can also touch on different emotions. That's why we cry sometimes. We laugh out loud. It gets us thinking. That's why some movies make us sadder. Positive Psychology at the Movies too, which is a really great book, discusses how movies transcend all barriers and differences, whether they are cultural, language, religion, geographic borders, or belief systems. The Joy Luck Club is a movie that I frequently recommend to my clients. It's one of the best movies I've seen to demonstrate self-worth. I mean, it's right even in the dialogue. The dialogue talks about bestest quality, which I love. I've adopted that myself. It asks, you have one character asking the character, what is your value? What are you worth? What are you going to ask for? So it really drives home the idea of thinking about, what do I deserve in this, that, and the other situation? in this, that, or the other relationship, at work, at home, with friends, you really want to think about, what do I deserve? How should I be treated? And that plays into how our habits go into the people pleasing. So by understanding your own self-worth, then you want to give that away a lot less, because you already have that approval that a lot of times people pleasing is seeking. So now let's move into how depression and anxiety play a role in people pleasing. Before I get into that, though, it must be considered that people pleasing can also be rooted in culture. There are many patriarchal societies where it is common for the male in the family to have dominance or privilege. Now, while we do not have time to explore the depth of what that looks like in this conversation, culture should always be considered as a factor in when you see people that are people pleasers, and for yourself, if you identify yourself as a people pleaser, consider looking at where that's rooted culturally, because a lot of our behaviors started or were rooted as a child. So think of that. But a lot of the time, people pleasers are anxious because they think they're inadequate, defective, and unlovable. And they're afraid others already know this or will find it out. That shows up in the recent verbiage like imposter syndrome, right? We've heard a lot of talk about imposter syndrome, and that's really what that looks like. About half, or 47% of American adults, believe that other people in their life would definitely or probably describe them as a people pleaser. So as I'm going through this, think yourself, the people in your life, would they consider you a people pleaser? Among women, 51% believe others see them this way. And 42% of men say the same, which that statistic really surprised me, because when I think of people pleasing, I really think of women. And I know that's very narrow-minded, even, I admit that, I fully admit that. So when I saw that statistic, it really opened my eyes to the fact that, men also can feel that insecurity, that anxiety of, any moment they're going to figure out that I don't have a clue of what I'm doing, when in fact, they're probably at the top of their game. So a lot of times they're afraid they'll be criticized, embarrassed, rejected, or abandoned. So people pleasers play it safe by saying yes to things they don't want to do. They procrastinate. They shut down their feelings, which can lead to depression. Oftentimes, people pleasers will also stick to what they're good at. They don't want to branch out. They don't want to try something new for a lack or a risk of failing or looking bad. They work hard, sometimes in excess. They try to be agreeable, just go along to get along, don't want to make any waves. They stuff their feelings, needs, and opinions, and they just put it aside, especially if they think those opinions are disagreeable or inconvenient. The only way to get past it is to accept your anxiety, to just name it, just call it what it is. Recognize when you are feeling anxious, like wanting to shut down or just go to sleep, feeling confused or unable to concentrate, and feeling wound up or on edge, just to name a few of those symptoms. Pay attention to your body. Your body will always tell you how you're feeling, what's going on. And you do have to, do that assessment and ask yourself other questions. But a lot of times your body will tell you what's going on. Some of those physical symptoms are breathing rapidly, trembling, sweating. In those moments, simply say to yourself, I feel anxious. And then take a deep breath and release it. Sometimes lifting your shoulders and holding it and then just dropping it. Just recenter yourself so that you are able to just be present in the moment. Grounding exercises are great for that. Just focus on what you can see, what you can hear, what you can smell, and identify it out loud, what you can taste and touch. Just re-grounding yourself in the moment to release some of that anxiety. You can always Google all kinds of breathing exercises. Apps like Calm are great. I have an app where I have relaxing rain. So all of these tools that we have available to us, oftentimes very free, can help in those moments of feeling anxious, feeling sad, not sure what's going on. And also just telling yourself that I have this. I give yourself permission to be great at what you do, to remind yourself that I do know what I'm doing. So giving yourself that permission a lot of times helps a lot. And the other thing is get over yourself. I know a lot of you, I hope some of you are laughing at that, because really we do. We all need to just get over ourselves. People pleasers, people are not thinking about us as thinking about that situation as much as we think. The fallout is not going to be catastrophic. It's not. It's never as bad as you imagine it's going to be. If you think about it, oftentimes when you say no to something someone has asked you to do, magically, it still happens. It still gets done, right? Either they figure it out, they find someone else to help them. It still happens. So take the pressure off of yourself. It's not, the sky is not going to fall. The world is not going to end if you say no. But, make them earn the yes. Make yes special. If someone comes to you and they get a yes from you, it's because you have the time, you want to give it to them, and feel free to do that. If you can gift your time away because you're on top of what you need to do, or it is just something you want to do for that person, of course, absolutely do that. It's when your yeses are in need of approval, that's where it gets kind of dicey. And that's where we move into the supportive versus submissive. You should always ask yourself, at what point does supportive become submissive? That's a fine line. Supportive is providing support and assistance. Now, when that support and assistance moves into passive obedience or a motivation that is supported to be liked, to not get fired, or other behaviors that are outside of your control. And that's really how you want to think about that. If you're being supportive because you genuinely want to be, I want to help this person, I want to be there, I have the time, I'm not in my mind going, oh man, I wish I hadn't said that, or I wish I hadn't said yes, oh my gosh, I could be doing this and this and this and this, I wish I wasn't here. If all that's going on, you want to ask yourself, then why did you say yes? Did you say yes because you wanted them to like you? Did you say yes because you thought that they might fire you or they wouldn't let you on the team again? That's where you want to go into the introspection and ask yourself, okay, what was the motivation behind me saying yes to this thing that now I'm like, oh, why am I here? What am I doing? So think about those kinds of things. When it moves into that space, that's when it becomes submissive. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. All of these things are just unnecessary. We say I'm sorry way too much, to the point where sorry has lost all meaning. It means absolutely nothing anymore. So before you're saying I'm sorry, think about, what are you sorry for? I was in the grocery store the other day, and a person, instead of saying, excuse me, they said, I'm sorry. You're sorry for shopping? Because you get to be here and be in the aisle too. I mean, it is a shared, common, open space. Like, we're all allowed to be there. Why are you sorry? So think about, why are you saying I'm sorry? One of the best approaches is to change that vocabulary and use I statements. I'd like to ask a question instead of saying, sorry, but I have a question. Why are you sorry that you have a question? No. Thank them for the behavior instead of apologizing for yours. Like, thank you for listening instead of, sorry, but I don't think I see it that way, or that's more along the lines of acknowledging. So, change how you approach it. And a great way is to have the I statements. Start with or even when you're about to say sorry, catch yourself, skip the part of I'm sorry and go straight to what you were going to say after that. So practice changing that verbiage, practice how you respond, because chances are you're not sorry. You just have something else to contribute, and you should be allowed to contribute that. The other thing is, when in doubt, buy some time. Give yourself time to think through that decision. There is no law that says you have to always answer in that moment. And a lot of times we do, especially in a work situation. We're often compelled to be able to give an answer in that moment. And that's not necessarily necessary. You do have a right to go, you know what, let me check my calendar. Let me walk around and think about that. Let me check with XYZ person to see if that works for what's going on. Think big picture. One of the things that people pleasers do is they feel like it all falls on them. Like it's all, because it's come at you, it's now all your responsibility. The whole world now is all on you. That whole situation is all on you. And it's not. It's not. You are a very small piece. That is why this question or this task has found its way to you. But in the grand scheme of things, it does not all fall on you. So you have to figure out your place in it. How can you contribute? If it's a requirement, then what is the time frame that you have to contribute to it? Will that work? Can you negotiate some other ways to approach it? These are things that will help. Now, later on in a few minutes, we'll talk about a couple of tools that you can use to use that verbiage. I'll give you the verbiage that'll help you have those conversations. But you really want to give yourself an opportunity to just go, hey, let me think about that for a moment, and allow yourself that time. Another great tool is positive self-talk. As I said before, you can't give away what you don't own yourself. And if you speak to yourself in a non-loving way, then of course others may overhear that and follow suit, or you just won't really expect to be spoken to in a loving way. So you want to speak to yourself in that loving way, because at the end of the day, it always comes back to how you treat yourself, right? How do you speak to yourself? How do you react when things don't go as expected? Do you blame yourself? Oh, you're so stupid. Oh, you should have this. Why didn't you XYZ? Again, it's not always your fault. Things do go wrong. That's living. So how do you celebrate your success? Positive affirmations, they work and they are backed by science. So studies prove that positive affirmations help activate parts of the brain that are associated with self-related processing and reward. The same studies also indicate that positive affirmations can help build or restore self-competence. Positive affirmations like I am and quotes or phrases you like are great reminders of your power. Here's something else I always recommend to my clients, I do it, is have a theme song, right? I know somebody like, okay, yeah, have a theme song. Having a theme song is a fun way to stay in touch with yourself, as well as just have fun. You know, you want to bake in the goodness, bake in the joy. So right now in the chat, wake up everybody. In the chat, I want you to go ahead and type an I am statement. So I am, fill in the blank. On the screen, you're saying, I am angry, I am loving, I am wise, I am accepting. Put in your I am statement. I'm going to keep going, but Justice, if you want to read some of those from the chat, feel free. But yeah, you take a moment and write in an I am statement.
We've got enough, creative, growing, hardworking, becoming, self-aware, powerful, smart. Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. See, you guys get it. You're on it. That's right. I love it. Self-awareness is key. So I do want to share my particular theme song right now. So right now, and it does change, I encourage you to switch it up. You can change things around. Right now, my theme song is Standards by Leslie Odom Jr. If you haven't heard it, YouTube it, Google it, whatever. It is awesome. It's a little saucy, helps you kind of shake a little bit, but it's a little sassy, saucy kind of a tune. And it's very show tunies kind of a tune, but it's amazing. I cannot not move when I hear that song. So find that joy, find that thing that gets you moving. Another way to have that positive self-talk and think about those things is use a password. Our passwords are hard to remember, but if you use your goals and your dreams as your password, then that's a nice creative way to keep why you're doing all this, what you're doing everything for, top of mind. Because you use your passwords, it's a constant reminder all day long because you're using your passwords all day. These are just some ideas, but get creative with it because you can use special characters, numbers, letters. So like pay 20K for life. And yeah, that's not a lot of money, but maybe that's how much you want to be paid from your side hustle. You know, own the world, see the world before 60, always happy. Opportunity plus preparation equals luck, or it's never too late. You know, just find a way to bake in your joy, bake in your self-identity, your confidence, your self-worth into everything you do throughout your day. Because when you move in that space, you're moving in, you're living your self-worth, right? You are walking in who you are. You've given yourself permission to be quirky or to be smart or to be fun and funny. And when that happens, the need to people please others is less and less. Now, don't mistake people pleasing for just being a nice person. There are those people, all of us, I hope, have those moments where we want to make someone else more comfortable. We open a door, we help carry their packages, we are helpful. That's just being a good human being. So by doing that, ideally, that's just, again, being a good human being. But when you go into people pleasing, again, it's really about the motivation behind it. Why are you doing that? Why are you helping? Why are you saying yes? Why are you doing all of those things outside of just because you genuinely want to? So now we're going to jump into some of the tools I mentioned earlier. And setting boundaries is really the cornerstone to stopping a lot of the people-pleasing behavior. Now, the ACT method is a wonderful tool because it allows you to really set that boundaries, and it gives you a bit of a script to be able to have that conversation, have the no, say the no, right? But nicely. So let's talk through that. Let me get to the next slide. ACT. So using the ACT method, saying no. A is acknowledge, communicate, and take action. And when you do that method, you're saying no, but you're saying no nicely, right? And actually, you're not necessarily saying no, but you are staying in control of your time and what goes on for you. So the easiest way is to walk through it. That's the easiest thing to do. So with the ACT method, let me set the stage for you. And actually, the stage I'm setting is an interaction with a boss, because there's a really big misconception that you can't say no to your boss. And that is just not true. It's just all in how you do it. And actually, you're not necessarily saying no. You're putting the onus more on them than you are on you. So let's give an example. Let's say your boss comes and says they need XYZ project by a certain time. and you're working on what you already designated as the priority. And so when they bring that, I'm going to pause right here. I'm noticing that we have, Justice, can I ask you to check to see, I'm hearing a little bit of background. Is everyone on mute? Okay, awesome. All right, thank you for that. So here's the example. Your boss says they need XYZ project by a certain time, and you're already working on something that had a priority. And so now it's a matter of which one takes precedence, right? Here's the key. Remind your boss what you're working on. Your boss is they're not going to remember. They don't know what you're doing. I know they may have delegated it to you, but your boss is not thinking about what you're working on. And a lot of people really, well, they told me to do it. Of course, they know what I'm doing. No, they don't. You know why? Because you're doing 10 things. They're doing 50, right? So keep that in mind. Remind them of what you're already doing. And remember that you're the one that is in control of the situation. You're in control of how much work you can and are willing to do without killing yourself. So how does that sound using the ACT method? Okay, so first you acknowledge. I understand that XYZ project is hot. I use the word hot. You can use the verbiage of, urgent, it's now a priority, whatever, but I use hot. Next is communicate. Now, communicate lands solely on you. This is where the hard conversation comes in. I was working on ABC project that needed to be done by end of day tomorrow. Which one is hotter? That is the key part. Put it on them. Don't tell them, is this hotter or that? Let your boss or the other person, whatever the situation is, let them decide which takes precedence. Ask them the question, which one is hotter? Once you get which one is hotter, then take the action. Okay, I'll finish XYZ by the end of day tomorrow, but now I will need until next Tuesday to complete ABC project. So when you've negotiated, when you've said, hey, you've defined which one is more important, now you're going to need more time, right? And even if you don't, you're going to ask for it because you don't know how long this new project is going to take. And it might not leave you enough time to finish what you were already working on, what was already a priority. So by asking your boss and saying, hey, I can get that done by next Tuesday, will that work? And you do want to ask the question, is that going to be okay? They may say yes. If it's no, now's where you want to negotiate. You start telling them when you can, or what's drop dead date they need it. But that's where the conversation, that's where the communication comes in. And then you can truly take action and just run with it. But by pausing and having that conversation, you stay in control of your time. You set that boundary. And over time, your boss, believe it or not, your boss, not all of them, I have to put that asterisk in there, but most of them will recognize that that's what you need, and they'll just come with that information. Hey, I have XYZ project. I know you're working on ABC, but I really need this to be sooner, and I can wait until Tuesday to get the one you were working on. Like, they'll come with that information, some, not all. And by getting them, because you're prepping them, you're training them to have that behavior. And by constantly doing that, that really helps you maintain control of your calendar, of your workday without getting burnt out. It really opens the door to that. And it also educates them on how questions they should be asking as well. So using that method, I have found with clients to be extremely, extremely effective. I have a client where she was really great at setting boundaries at work, but in her personal life, not so much. So over the holidays, we worked before we got to the holidays. She was really concerned about what was going to go on in the holidays. And I was so happy to hear that she had an enjoyable time with her family on the other side of the holidays, using some of the tools that I've talked about here today. You know, just putting those into action and setting those boundaries, asking questions instead of having to have the answer right away, and moving forward and setting those boundaries on the expectations of other people, right? So using those tools have been amazing. So I'm going to touch on, we got one last thing to hit. And like I said, I know we're not going to have a lot of time to get into the assertiveness script because it can be pretty detailed, but I do want to touch on it because it is a great tool to have the hard conversation. The assertiveness script really just has 4 pieces: the when, the effect is, the I feel, and I would like. And some of you might be familiar with this script. It's been around for a really long time. There's been different variations of it, but this is the version I've used, and it keeps it simple. Because the idea is to stay focused on the behavior. When someone does something, it's easy to say, well, you were rude because you did this, or I felt XYZ way because of something you did. You want to focus on what they did. How you feel about it, it matters, but you don't want to open with that because that's just inviting that protective thing on there. So they're going to get defensive and they're going to try and explain away why they're going to explain away their bad behavior, basically. And you don't want that. You want a constructive exchange of how to resolve that issue. So really quickly, I think we have a few minutes. I'll give us, this will take about a couple minutes. So I'll set the stage again. So it's easy because it's easier to work through a situation, right? So here's a situation that I think most people can relate to. You work in a cubicle situation or an open workspace. Your neighbor consistently answers for you when someone comes and asks you a question. I know some of you are like, oh, yeah, oh, exactly. So if we walk through the steps, again, I'm happy to have a consultation with you to kind of go through this in more in depth, but I'm just going to walk through the steps of what that conversation might look like right now. When someone asks me, if you were to pull this person aside, you would say, when someone asks me a question, I notice you consistently answer for me. So you never want to open with you, and you want to use I statements where it makes sense. So open with, again, the behavior that happened. Someone asked me a question, you answered for me. The effect is they may begin to think, I don't know my job, which is very possible. I feel. Now, I feel is tricky because I feel has 2 versions, one for work and one for your personal life. At work, you might say things like, I feel like you genuinely want to be helpful, and I feel we work well together. By talking about what they feel or what their intention is, by putting that into your I feel, that can potentially extinguish a potential defensive response, right? You could head that off. Chances are they'll still say it, but you could potentially head it off. If you were at home, then it's a more personal relationship. So you can use more feeling words, but use positive words like left out instead of dismissed. There are certain words that cut a certain way, but you can Google feelings vocabulary words. Again, wonderful tool. I've used it with a lot of my clients, and this particular client used a lot of those in dealing with her family. It's fantastic. And then the I would like, well, in this situation, what do you want? You want to be able to speak for yourself. So I would like to respond to the person that is speaking to me. And if I don't know the answer, I know you are a really good resource. Would that be okay? And this is very important because you want to get their buy-in. And I know some of you are sitting back going, man, that sounds really scripted. Yes, it does. And it's because it is. But with practice, it becomes more conversational. But yeah, in the beginning, it is going to feel and sound pretty scripted. but it's a wonderful tool to keep you on track, because when they interrupt you or when they want to, again, get defensive, you come circle back and you just come back to the win. The effect is I feel and I would. So I hope those tools were helpful for you. I'm going to toss it back to Justice to kind of wrap us up.
Yep, I'm right here. I'm taking over right now for you. Oops, not share, wrong button. Perfect. Thank you so much, Leslie. How are we all feeling? I know there was a lot of content given today, a lot of acronyms, and like I said, everything will be coming out tomorrow in the video, so you'll have it to go back and watch that. But also, if you had any questions about the presentation, feel free to start writing those in the chat, because we'll definitely come back to those here in a second. But I just want to take a second to talk about how to take this all and everything we learned here today a step further. And so we're here to support you with your 45-minute individualized sessions with your coach. That's where your time to get, extra insights into your situation and how to just elevate everything that you're working towards, especially those goals. And just that support system there, be it from your individual coach, but as well as support of ALV overall. You've got me, you've got Jillian, and then you've got the other individuals that are also going through coaching. And there's just so much out there in terms of resources available to you that really just helps. It's game changing. And then these 45-minute sessions are also really good at holding people accountable. So that heightened level of accountability, which is something that I find consistently on the calls that I have with people, is they need someone to hold them accountable. They need someone to help them, give them that insight, give them that support, but really they want that accountability piece, because there's just something about not being able to do it themselves that really kind of leads them to wanting to have these conversations. So with that being said, I am going to go ahead and drop my link one more time in case anyone, I can't see that. Jill, am I not showing my screen at all? Can anyone see my screen or no?
It's saying click to exit full screen.
Oh, give me 1 second. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to support you with those insights, the support, and the accountability. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop my link here in a second to my calendar again, if anyone wants to explore having a conversation, as well as our website where you can learn more about Vida and the coaching themselves. And then our Eventbrite and YouTube links as well. But in addition to just the support that you receive in your one-on-one sessions, you also have a ton of bonuses. So with the bonuses, what those entail are access to our ALV community Slack channel. And what's great about this is it has all of our current clients as well as all of our coaches. So it's a really healthy environment we've been able to create where people post job descriptions, webinars, seminars, discussion posts, and just all sorts of things like that. And with this exposure, you also get a chance to see some of the other coaches on our teams too. That can also open the door to some celebrity sessions. And what that is should any of our other coaches, be it they led another one of these webinars, they posted a blog post or anything at all that just caught your attention, you would then have the opportunity to substitute any of your sessions with your main coach with any of our coaches on our team. So if there's ever something that someone can provide in terms of a niche skill set, you would have access to be able to, utilize that and have a conversation with that coach. So definitely something to look into and think about as you want to just explore. You also have 8 group coaching sessions monthly. And this is something new that we're trying out that people are really seeming to like. And what those sessions look like is they range from the day of the week, as well as the time of the day, to try to accommodate as many people as possible. But they also range the coach leading the session, as well as the session topic itself, from general life or general career coaching to super specific things like LinkedIn optimization or imposter syndrome. So there's a wide variety of content that's offered in each of those sessions. And we really encourage people to attend those when and where they're able to, in addition to their one-on-ones, because it's just more insight, more support, and more accountability to help you progress through and get to those goals a little bit at a faster pace. So definitely check out our group coaching sessions if you're interested in that. And then you're also going to have access to our full e-coaching program suite. So all of our modules, all of our courses and everything, that is all included in your membership. And there's a lot of really good content in there that we're constantly tweaking, we're constantly improving just to provide you all with the best service possible. So definitely check those out, and really nice to utilize those in between your sessions to really optimize your downtime and go into that next session ready to go and just focus. And then altogether, the bonuses alone are about over $1,000 value. But our coaching memberships start at $379 a month. Plus, as I mentioned, you do get your first session free coming to us from a webinar. So definitely something to consider as you're thinking through budgeting and different options. And then you can also sign up today for any of our courses. So we have our Quit Your Imposter Syndrome, our career method, all of those courses currently are 25% off, and that actually does end today. So if you have any questions on that, I will also go ahead and drop my email, and you can go ahead and email me and we can get you set up with whatever you would need to do from that. But those are some of the things that we are able to offer from you. Oh, thank you so much, Jillian, for dropping the link for that. Appreciate that. But that being said, that's a little bit more about how you can take your membership to the next level. So with that, here is a QR code. If you want to go ahead and scan that and get onto my calendar, it's a little bit easier than sometimes the links, but if you need that, that is there for you. And again, all of the resources and everything we mentioned will be sent tomorrow. So you'll have that all for reference. But with all of that being said, let's have a little chat. Does anybody have any questions, any comments, anything front of mind they'd like to talk about? Leslie, do you have anything that you'd like to mention right now to kind of get the ball rolling, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely with people pleasing, how are you feeling? What habits have you seen? What are you noticing? What was your takeaway today that stood out for you? Were the I ams helpful? Like, what stood out for you today?
And then additionally, we do invite anybody that would like to come up and have a conversation directly with Leslie. Now is your time to unmute yourself. Feel free to ask any questions. The floor is up for everybody.
I actually see a question. Can you repeat the C? What was it? The C is acknowledge, communicate, and take action.
I believe that was, yes.
Yeah. Acknowledge, communicate, and take action.
Can you show the 24-hour rule screen again? Sure. Let me see. Leslie, do you know about how far back that was?
Yep, right there, yeah.
Perfect.
So you want to screenshot it. That's awesome. So glad that was a great takeaway for you. Because it's true. I mean, give yourself a moment. What was the name of your theme song again? Oh, it was called Standards by Leslie Odom Jr. It's such a great song. I'm just so into it right now. Any other questions? Can you share more on how you picked your theme song and how you use it? Oh, that's a great question. My theme songs go along, and I tell this to my clients as well, let your life, soundtrack your life, basically. So when things are heavy, I know you don't want to dwell in that space, but I know years ago when I was really managing my own depression, I used to watch Set It Off all the time. It's a movie. If you're not familiar with it, it just really made me feel like, the world, I'm coming back at the world. I'm going to get them back because they're just so unfair and I can't take it anymore. So let movies and TV kind of help you release the feelings that you can't, or you're having trouble releasing yourself, right? So that's how I pick a theme song. My birthday was January 1st. Yay! So I came into this year just feeling saucy and sassy. And the truth of the matter is this song came up on a shuffle somehow. It just played, and I'm just going, oh, this is giving me every bit of my life. I have to have the song. And so it has become my theme song for now. So that's how you just let your life kind of guide those things, the movie, the theme songs, the ringtones, all of that.
Leslie, we have a couple happy birthdays to you and happy belated.
Oh, thank you.
We do have one more question in the chat. How do you find a balance between being a good person and charitable and being a walkover? I find it hard to balance, and I don't want to stop helping people.
You do exactly what your answer is in your question. Find those charities that you believe in and you care about and focus on those. And the ones that are outside of that, if you can, then do. And that's something I tell people to say, and I say it myself. If I can, I will. If I can't, I'll tell you. Right? So find those charities and those causes that you feel passionate about. Start there and support those. And the ones that you don't, then just say no. Just, honestly say, I would love to help, but I'm already, giving to XYZ. If you want to share the charity, or I already, give handsomely to charity. I already volunteer my time, whatever that feeling is. And don't own their reaction. You're doing your part. You are giving and you are doing that. So how they respond, that's on them. It's not on you.
We have another question. It says, what about people who guilt trip?
So they're trying to guilt trip you. Well, you're the only way that is successful is if you give them permission. So, so don't let them. If they want to guilt trip you, then that's their stuff. That's not your stuff. So own what you've already done. And again, acknowledge, I understand that that's how you feel. Here's what I currently do. I actually do volunteer. I actually fill in the blank. So if there's another opportunity to help you, or there's another opportunity to contribute, feel free to reach back to me again. Again, using that ACT method and in very different situations, it can be very useful.
Thank you so much. And then we have another one that says, my mother is a people pleaser and expects all of her children to be people pleasers as well. And she gets upset when we set boundaries. How do I handle it even when she is upset and doesn't understand?
Well, that's generational. That is super easy. That is a generational issue. And having the hard conversation of, if you're willing to do it, she still might not hear it because again, that too is generational. But explaining that, hey, it's a different time now. Generationally, that was acceptable. But now it's different. Now again, we'd have to work through the actual verbiage. I'm just kind of on the fly right now, but bottom line is it's a generational situation. So you want to have the generational conversation.
We have another one that says, can you share a little about fear of abandonment or need for belonging and how that can be interconnected with people pleasing?
That's definitely connected with people pleasing because that fear of abandonment, again, is trying to seek, you want to make sure that people are staying in your life. So again, you want to look at areas that give you joy, the things that really speak to who you are specifically. Maybe you like photography, I guess, right? That's a better way to say that. Find your people. That's the best way to say that, right? Go find photography, go painting, go do the things you love to do. And that's where you'll find your people. And that should help to bake in some of that feeling like that feeling like someone's going to leave you, because yeah, abandonment is real. That is real. And unfortunately, it is also a part of life, because abandonment isn't just someone leaving you necessarily. Sometimes it's a death. Sometimes it's a breakup. There's different things that trigger those feelings. So the more you can bake into your own life of where you do belong, you can use that as your support system, and it becomes a lot stronger for you in those moments.
All right. And it looks as though we have reached the end of our questions. If anyone doesn't have anything last minute. Also, thank you everyone for being so engaging in the chat. It's been really fun to read through these and kind of go off of those throughout the presentation. We do appreciate you spending this part of your Tuesday with us. And I did drop the link for future events if you do have interest in that, as well as the link to our YouTube channel where you can see previously recorded events. But everything will be sent again, as I mentioned, in our follow-up email. And if there are no other questions, I guess we get in just a few minutes early today. But once again, thank you so much, everyone, for your time. We hope you have a great day and week. Have a great February onward since we're already there. But let us know if we can be a support at all. Leslie, any parting words?
Just, seek me out. I'm happy to walk through any of the things we talked about, because ALV does offer a 30-minute free consultation. So feel free to book that time with me. I'm happy to talk to you, and maybe, I can help you with more things in actual sessions.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for your time today. And you'll have all of our information if you need to get in contact. We'd love to continue your conversation further. Have a great day, everyone.